Alright guys, I wanted to do a quick video on my Miss Pac-Man machine, my Miss Pac-Man cocktail machine that I have done a video before. This is of course the Arcade1up Miss Pac-Man machine, cocktail machine that I got a few months back. And there was always something bothering me about it that I always wanted to do. I love the artwork of the Miss Pac-Man, for a lot of reasons. I love the look and everything, and I also wanted a Pac-Man machine in the house, but I didn't want to dedicate a whole entire cabinet to it that was the same form factor as other ones, because you guys know I had modded machines and everything. So I kept thinking about it, and I was like, what can I do to this machine that I can make it more of what I want? And the answer was to mod the machine. As you can see here, it has more buttons than it used to. It has a new joystick, it has light up buttons and everything. And I want to get into why I actually did that, and how that actually affects how this plays now, and what I can do with this now that I couldn't do before. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so here we are with the Miss Pac-Man machine. As I was talking about in the intro there, I decided to mod my Miss Pac-Man machine. Now, if you guys want to mod your Miss Pac-Man machine, be aware that obviously this panel here that we all are using on our Miss Pac-Man machine is obviously really short. You can see that it's not very deep, so you can't put like crazy joysticks or crazy buttons on here, so only specific ones will fit. I'll put a link in the description down below on which set I bought that fit in here. You will even need to create a hole underneath the back panel here to be able to fit the joystick correctly, with a little small hole, but obviously it's on the back. You can't see anything on the front, so it doesn't really matter because it's not seen. But just be aware that it is obviously a tight fit here because the panel's obviously not that large. But as you can see, what I did is I added more buttons. So as you can tell on the Miss Pac-Man machine here, not only did I replace the joystick here with an 8-way joystick, what I also did is add player 1 and player 2 player 1 and coin button here, and then added 4. I believe there was, I'm trying to remember now how many buttons were on here, but basically now there's 6 buttons on here. I think before there was 3 if I remember correctly, and now I added 3 more plus the 2 on the side. And I did the same thing, of course, on the other side here. So you can see how that looks there with the player 2 button and then the coin button there. And then, of course, the light up buttons that we have on here along with the other 8-way joystick. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, why would you want to do that on a Pac-Man machine? Well, the simple thing is that I'm not going to have multiple cocktail machines in the house. I don't have room for that kind of stuff. So I wanted a cocktail machine that kind of provided, basically a way to play all the games in cocktail form that I really like to play. And a lot of those are, not just 4-way games, and they're not just games that came on the machine. So I modded this with a Pi 4. It is running the button masher system here, as you can see when I scroll through, along with some of the other games that I also added as well. So you can see I have a bunch of vertical shooters. I have a bunch of, different games now. For example, let's pull one up here so I can show you guys what this allows. So, like, for example, one of my favorite games in the arcade was Sunset Riders. So, for example, if I were to open this up here and hit start and open that up, when you play this game now of course you could play 1 player or 2 player, depending on how many players you want to play. So player 1 would hit coin over here, player 2 would hit coin over there. So once that starts here, I could hit coin 1 here. You can see it's already set up. I set up all the games that I want to in split screen form. So you can hit start over here, hit start over there, and now you have 2 players that are scrolling through. So this player can go ahead and select this one. This player over here can go ahead and select that one. We're starting the game here. And now we're all sitting here playing, and you can go ahead and play on split screen. So this person has this angle view, and then this player over here, of course, has this angle view. And what's awesome about this is that, there's a lot of games that you can play like this. NBA Jam is another one that I like to play. NHL, 2-on-2 ice hockey, which is fantastic to play on here. There's a lot of different games now that I can play on here with this split screen view, because it's an 8-way joystick, and because I actually have more buttons for those games like NBA Jam that required more than the buttons that were on here before. So it just makes things easier to actually play now. with all these games. And like I said, I have a ton of different games now because of the fact that I added the 8-way joystick and have more buttons now, so we can play. And Pac-Man still plays great on an 8-way joystick. Is it perfect? No. But if you want a perfect experience for Pac-Man, you know, I do have other machines in the arcade room that are 4-way joysticks that, you know, on my big main machine that you guys have seen, that's a 4-way / 8-way that automatically goes from 4-way to 8-way depending on the game. So if you want to do competitive Pac-Man, which I can guarantee you nobody in this house is going to do, you can play it on that machine. But everybody who's came over and actually played Pac-Man on here wouldn't even know the difference. It still works really well, even with an 8-way joystick, even though it does work a little bit better on the 4-way, of course. It still works perfectly fine, and I'd rather take those odds and be able to play hundreds of more games in cocktail form than not to be able to. So I think it's a good trade-off to be able to have 4-way and 8-way games on here, and more importantly, more games because of all the buttons that I added. So this makes the cocktail form, you know, play a lot better, have a lot more. So let me show you guys one more game here of a vertical game so you guys can get an idea of how that works. So for example, if we start in 1944 here, and we want to, again, play with 2 players, you can see that we have our 2 players here, and we can now move. I'm moving on this side. Of course, player 2 over there is not moving because I'm trying to do this by myself. But you can see here that, you know, you can go ahead and shoot. Shooting there with the green button there and moving around. And then you can go ahead and play games like this. And it looks great because it takes up the whole entire screen. Unlike the one unlike the one that, you know, some of the games didn't take up the whole screen on here before because of the way Arcade1up did this machine. Now I can actually, you know, have all the games full screen and everything, and I think it looks fantastic. It came out great. You know, I had someone plug the holes for me, where he actually created and drilled the holes for me because I'm terrible when it comes to drilling and stuff. Electronic, putting stuff together, PCs, that's all me. But when it comes to drilling holes, especially with something this thin and not much leeway for messing up, I had someone else do it. He did a great job. You can see the holes were cut. Obviously they're a little off-centered, so it's not perfect. I'm sure you guys noticed that at the beginning of the video. Obviously the best way to do it is to do it like this, where they're obviously perfectly even. But some sacrifices had to be made for a small form factor like this to get all the buttons inside to actually fit. And it's like I said, it's not that bad. Obviously, it's not perfect, but you know, using these 3 buttons and these 3 buttons on the bottom, having a little bit off-center is not the end of the world. And most games only use 3 buttons anyway on a machine like this, so you would just be using the 3 bottom ones most of the time. And if there are games that use the top 3, you know, you could still manage. You just got to get used to it. Like for Street Fighter and stuff, you're gonna have to get used to a little bit to get the cocktail form factor. But yeah, I think this is a great transition for the cocktail machine that I have now. I think it added a lot more fun to it, a lot more games. If you guys want to do this yourselves, this is probably what it's going to have to look like, with the buttons being a little off-centered, and then the stuff I talked about below. Make sure you get the buttons that actually fit in there. The ones that I used are going to be linked down below, like I said. But I think this adds a lot of value to the cocktail machine from Arcade1up. Not one second am I, you know, mad that I did this or anything like that. I think this is fantastic to be able to do this, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you guys have any questions about what you guys saw in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.